Hey guys. Tonight we're slowing down with a story about someone who noticed what most people never see, the silent spaces between footfalls. The unspoken ache in the early morning air. And the delicate dreams that people accidentally leave behind while rushing to begin again. You're walking through a quiet street. The kind of street that still smells faintly of last night's rain and warm bread from a bakery that hasn't yet opened its shutters. The sky is a deep navy blue. Not quite night, not yet morning, and the lamplight flickers just enough to feel like a whisper. There's a man ahead of you. You almost don't notice him at first, because he moves like a shadow at home in the dimness. His broom, an old thing with frayed bristles and a handle wrapped in worn cloth, brushes softly against the pavement. It doesn't scrape, it hums. You pause, watching. He doesn't look up, but you feel as if he knows you're there. He's sweeping the street, slowly, tenderly, as though each leaf and wrapper he gathers was once something precious. His cart creaks behind him, wooden wheels rolling over cobblestones like an old lullaby. He wears a knitted cap pulled low over his ears and a navy jacket patched at the elbows. You'd pass him 100 times in daylight and forget his face every time. But now, in this silence, he feels important. You follow, just a few steps back. Most people are still curled up in bed, lost in dreams that will fade by breakfast. But out here, you get the sense that not all dreams vanish. Some float down from bedroom windows like bits of stardust. Others are dropped on sidewalks like coins from shallow pockets. He sees them all, and sweeps them gently into his cart. You don't say anything. Somehow, this doesn't feel like a story where you should speak yet. You walk past shuttered shop fronts, their signs blinking gently, as if exhaling. You pass the quiet bookstore where a display of unread poetry books faces the empty street. One of them has tilted over, resting on its side, like even the poems grew tired. You notice something about the way he moves. He stops every now and then, not to rest, but to look. He glances toward the cracks between cobblestones, into puddles reflecting streetlights, and up into balconies with wind chimes made from old silver spoons. There's a reverence to his routine. And then, almost as if he remembers you're behind him, he speaks without turning. Most people only see trash. But I've learned, dreams like to hide under wrappers and feathers. They don't want to be seen. Not right away. His voice is soft, dry like autumn leaves, and surprisingly warm. You don't answer. Not because you don't want to, but because suddenly you feel like a guest in a story much older than you. He pushes his cart forward. It rattles. Something inside clinks softly, like glass jars kissing. Maybe that's what he collects. Bits of light and longing. Unfinished wishes. Forgotten hopes. Some say there are people who can feel things the rest of the world forgets. Some say dreams are soft creatures that need caretakers. You never believed any of that. But tonight, on this street, behind this man, you start to wonder, what if he's been keeping the pieces we leave behind when we're too tired to carry them? What if dreams are fragile, and need someone like him to tuck them into safety before the day begins? A cat darts past you, pausing to rub its side against the man's cart. He whispers something to it, a name, maybe, and it disappears into a shadowed alley. The sky begins to pale slightly, just the faintest breath of morning. He stops near a storm drain, crouches down, and pulls something small from the grate. You inch closer and see a bit of colored string. A charm bracelet tangled with leaves. And a torn photo of someone smiling. He puts them gently into a small box inside the cart, almost like he's laying them to rest. And then he says something that stays with you longer than you expect. Dreams aren't lost. They just wait for the right hands to hold them again. You don't know what he means. Not fully. Not yet. But the way he says it, the way the air stills after, makes something in your chest soften. You keep walking with him. Slowly. Quietly. As the first birds begin their tentative morning rehearsal. And as you walk, you notice something strange. The world feels lighter. Like maybe someone has been quietly sweeping your worries into a gentle place you didn't know existed. The cart creaks as it rolls forward. Just ahead of you, it has a strange rhythm. Like the breath of something old and kind. The man doesn't speak again for a while. And neither do you. But there's a shared understanding now. An invisible thread woven through the quiet air between you. The street begins to curve gently. And the fog deepens here. Thick like cream swirling into coffee. You can barely make out where the pavement ends and the sky begins. Lamps glow golden and soft. Their halos diffused, turning every step into something dreamlike. You notice the cart in more detail now. It's wooden, hand-painted long ago, though most of the color has faded. Still, you can see the ghost of stars once painted along the side. And a crescent moon with a sleepy smile. And there, tucked between a chipped jar and a folded handkerchief, you see it. Something that doesn't belong. A thin feather, white, speckled with faint blue, and caught in a silver thread. You point to it, gently, as if it might fly away if you speak too loudly. He notices and smiles without looking at you. Ah, that one waited for 3 days near the bus stop. Kept slipping through cracks whenever I tried to pick it up. Dreams like to play. You don't know why, but you laugh quietly at that. It feels safe to laugh here. Like laughter belongs more than noise. He stops again. This time near a bench with rusted legs and a mosaic of mismatched tiles for a backrest. Carefully, he leans his broom against it and opens a small drawer built into the side of the cart. From it, he takes out an envelope. It's yellowed at the edges, sealed with wax that's cracked like dry skin. No name on the front, just a tiny heart, drawn with what looks like crayon. He hands it to you. You hesitate. Me? He nods once. Found it yesterday. Sometimes they're meant for someone who hasn't arrived yet. You open it slowly. Inside, a note, written in looping, childlike handwriting. Just one sentence. It's okay if you don't finish everything. You blink. You're not sure what you were expecting. A secret. Maybe. Or a story. But this feels deeper. Quieter. The man watches your face gently. That one's been drifting around a while. I think it wanted to be read by someone who needed it more than the one who wrote it. A silence settles again. The kind that's soft and respectful. Like the world holding its breath. You tuck the note into your pocket. Somehow, it feels heavy and light at the same time. The man continues sweeping. His movements are slow, deliberate. He's not just cleaning the street, he's listening. To the cracks in the pavement. To the echoes in the mist. And you start to listen. To the sound of a bicycle bell ringing in the distance. even though no bike appears. To the flutter of pigeons from a rooftop, startled by nothing. To the way a wind chime tinkles in a window 3 floors up, as if stirred by a memory rather than breeze. Most people, he says softly, spend their lives chasing dreams. But some of the best ones are the ones we find when we're standing still. You nod slowly. It makes sense in a way that can't be explained, not with logic, but with something softer. He picks up a torn journal page from the gutter. It's wrinkled and damp, but the ink still shows. A tiny sketch of a mountain in a sentence. Climbed halfway. Saw the clouds. Decided that was enough. Another unfinished chapter. Another dream that didn't end the way someone hoped. But somehow, it doesn't feel sad. It feels true. You realize you've spent so much time trying to finish everything: books, goals, plans, conversations. But maybe not everything needs an ending. Maybe some things are beautiful because they're left undone. Like a melody that stops just before the final note. Like a sunset that fades behind a cloud before you can say goodbye. The man tucks the page gently into his cart. Some people think dreams are fragile, he says, but really, it's the people who carry them that need gentleness. You glance at him. He keeps sweeping. The fog lifts slightly, and for a moment, you see the path ahead stretching further. The street feels wider, the sky a little more blue than before. Birds have started singing, tentative, sleepy notes like they're still stretching their wings. And you wonder, how many dreams have you left behind without even noticing? How many feathers slipped from your hands while you reached for something louder? The man stops sweeping again. He turns to you. Ever notice how the sky looks biggest just before sunrise? You glance up. He's right. The stars are fading, but the openness above you feels endless. Maybe that's when dreams decide if they'll stay. You don't know if it's true, but you hope it is. The cart moves again, its wheels humming against the cobblestone like a lullaby only the night can hear. You walk beside it, a little slower now, as if the weight of that letter is asking you to move with more care. You glance back once, at the bench and the faint outline of your footsteps behind you. But the fog quickly swallows them up, no trace left. It makes you think about how even the most vivid moments in life fade without warning. Maybe that's why some dreams become heavier over time. Because we carry the ones we forgot to say goodbye to. The man hums softly now. A song you don't recognize. Not a melody with words, just something simple and circular. The kind of tune you might find drifting through a memory of childhood. You follow the sound as much as the path, and the silence between each note seems to hold a kind of wisdom all its own. You reach a small plaza tucked between buildings. The stones here are older, and there's a gentle fountain at its center, no grand jets. Just a steady trickle, like a secret being told again and again in a language only water understands. He stops, reaches down, brushes something barely visible off the ground. Another one, he says. This one's fresh. You look, expecting maybe a slip of paper. Another letter, but it's a button, pale pink, cracked around the edges, with a single thread still clinging to one hole. He holds it in his palm like it's precious. This, he says, belonged to someone who lost something important. But I don't think it was just the coat. You tilt your head. How do you know? He smiles. Dreams leave clues. You lean against the edge of the fountain, letting the hush of the water fold around you. For a moment, you imagine the person who lost that button, maybe someone rushing through their day. Or someone who hadn't worn that coat in years but still hoped to find it whole. And you wonder, how many small things have you lost that you never realized were part of something bigger? A forgotten idea, a conversation you meant to finish, an apology left unspoken. There's a tree near the fountain, old and a little crooked, its bark peeling in lazy curls. Someone has tied dozens of ribbons to its branches, faded, frayed, but still dancing gently in the breeze. Wishes, maybe, or names, or pieces of the past fluttering in the present. The man follows your gaze. That tree's special. Been here longer than the street itself. People leave their thoughts with it. Dreams that didn't quite make it. Or hopes they don't know what to do with. He pauses, gently tying the pink button onto a thin red ribbon and attaching it to a low-hanging branch. Now it's part of something, he says, even if it's not what it started as. That sticks with you. You sit quietly, listening to the water, the hum of distant traffic, the occasional creak of the cart's wheels. And a thought rises, slow and uninvited, but gentle all the same. What if the stories that go unfinished aren't failures, but invitations? Invitations to grow differently, or rest a while, or to begin again, softer, wiser, slower. The man returns to his sweeping, this time circling the plaza like a ritual. His motions are like a dance, careful, thoughtful. He doesn't sweep away everything. Some things, like feathers or tiny twigs, he leaves in place, like they belong exactly where they landed. You don't have to clean everything? You ask. He chuckles. Some things aren't messes, just evidence that life happened. You breathe that in. Evidence that life happened. You think about your own mess, the pages of stories you've never finished writing, the messages you've never sent, the plans that still sit unopened in the corners of your mind. Maybe they aren't messes at all. Maybe they're proof that you tried, that you lived, that you cared enough to begin. The sky is slowly shifting from inky blue to the softest shade of gray. A breeze brushes your skin, not cold, just cool enough to remind you you're here, awake, present. And that's when he stops, sets down his broom, pulls from the cart a tiny book, worn at the edges, wrapped in string. He hands it to you. No title? You ask. He shakes his head. It writes itself. Only when you open it. You untie the string. Inside, the pages are all blank, except for one. Right in the center of the book, one page has been gently written in handwriting you vaguely recognize but can't place. And it says, it's enough to simply be on the path. No need to arrive, or finish, or prove. Just walk, just breathe, just be. You close the book, holding it against your chest. And for the first time in a long while, you feel like maybe, just maybe, you're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. The morning mist hasn't lifted yet, and the air feels thick with memory. You tuck the tiny book under your arm, still feeling the impression of that single line against your chest like a heartbeat. It's enough to simply be on the path. You glance at the old man. He doesn't ask if you've read it. He doesn't need to. There's something about him, like he always knows when someone has quietly let go of a burden they didn't realize they were carrying. He begins walking again, cart in tow. This time, the path narrows into an alley that curves softly, as if unsure of where it wants to lead. You follow, your steps unconsciously in rhythm with his. Here, the world feels quieter, the kind of silence that asks you to listen more closely, not the kind that makes you feel alone. Ivy climbs the walls in lazy zigzags. A single window glows faintly with the golden warmth of a lamp left on by someone who forgot to turn it off, or maybe someone who wanted the world to know they were still there. The man stops in front of an old wooden door. It's chipped, painted sea green once, now worn down to whispers of color. He gestures for you to sit on a nearby step. You do. The stone is cool beneath you, grounding. This used to be a bookshop, he says, the kind that never locked its door. People came in when they needed quiet more than answers. You look at the door again, imagining the shelves, the soft flicker of lamplight, the dust floating in sunbeams like tiny memories too light to fall. Did it close? You ask. He shrugs. In a way. But sometimes, I still hear pages turning when I pass by. You both sit there a while, not speaking, not needing to. The world narrows to the sound of your breath and the distant coo of a mourning dove somewhere above. Eventually, he leans his broom against the wall and reaches into the cart again. This time, he pulls out a small glass jar. Inside, a handful of puzzle pieces, all soft pastels, sky blue, blush pink, faded lavender, none of them connected. He opens the jar, tips it, and lets the pieces fall into his palm. These, he says, are from dreams that never made sense. You take one. It's curved strangely, as if made to fit a space that doesn't exist anymore. Not all pieces are supposed to find their place. He murmurs. Some are just reminders that something was once imagined. You think about that, how we try so hard to make everything add up, to make every plan fit perfectly, to know where each choice leads. But life isn't always a finished puzzle. Sometimes it's just a few pieces placed gently in your hand, asking you to love them for what they are, not for what they complete. You watch him return the pieces to the jar and place it back in the cart like it's something sacred. A woman passes by, pushing a stroller. She nods to him, smiles at you. The baby in the stroller is asleep, a tiny hand curled around nothing and everything. She comes this way every morning. He says, told me once that her dreams used to be loud and tangled. Now they're soft, like lullabies. You wonder how many people he's walked beside in this quiet, secret way. How many dreams he's gathered, not to fix them, but to hold them with tenderness. A gentle witness. He stands again, the broom returning to his hand like an old friend. You rise. Too. What do you do with the dreams? You ask. Softly. He pauses, tapping the handle of the broom against the ground once. Twice. Some I sweep into the corners of the city. He says, let them rest. Some I give to the trees, or hide in pages of old books. And some, he smiles, tapping your book gently, some I pass along, to people walking their own uncertain paths. You hold the book tighter. The alley curves again and opens into a courtyard you hadn't noticed before. It's filled with mismatched chairs, wooden, metal, wicker, all facing different directions. At first it seems chaotic, but then you realize it's peaceful. A place where you don't have to face the same way as everyone else. He leads you to a seat. This one is small and made of faded red velvet. Worn, but welcoming. As you sit, you realize the lesson wrapped in that strange little place. There's no right direction to face when you're healing. You look up. Above you, a wire stretches from one window to another, and on it hang dozens of paper cranes. Each folded with care, each telling its own silent prayer. Some are nearly transparent with age. Others look freshly made. All of them sway in rhythm with the breeze. And in that moment, you feel like they're bowing gently to you. What are they for? You ask. The man doesn't answer. He only whispers, "Listen." And so you do. The breeze rustles the cranes. And you hear it. Not a word, not a sound, but a feeling. The kind that says, "You've made it this far." That means something. You close your eyes for just a moment. And when you open them, you feel it. Not clarity, not certainty, but softness. And maybe that's enough. The courtyard lingers in your mind as the two of you step back into the rhythm of the city. There's something comforting about walking beside someone who doesn't rush you, who lets your silence be part of the conversation. The morning has grown brighter, but still holds onto a certain hush, as if the world hasn't quite shaken off its dreams. You follow the old man past a closed cafe. Its chairs turned upside down on tables. The smell of last night's coffee still faint in the air. A chalkboard out front reads, in slightly smudged letters, "Begin again." Even if you don't know how. He nods at it like an old friend. Every day, he murmurs, someone somewhere starts over. Not because they're ready, but because the morning asks them to. You think about your own restarts. The ones you didn't choose. The ones that felt like loss wearing the mask of opportunity. And the quiet ones, those were the hardest. The kind no one saw. Because they happened inside. The man pauses beside a mailbox. Rusted and leaning slightly to the left. He opens it gently, like opening the door to an old friend's home. Inside are slips of paper, some crumpled, others carefully folded. He pulls one out and hands it to you. The handwriting is looping, like a child's. You read aloud. "I dreamed I was a bird, but forgot how to land." You look up at him. The question forming on your face. "This box," he says, "is where people leave their unspoken dreams. The kind that don't quite know what they mean yet." You replace the slip and close the box gently. And now, there's a softness in your chest. A place where pressure used to live. You didn't even know you were holding your breath until just now. When you let it go, he guides you to a narrow bridge that crosses a shallow stream. Barely more than a whisper. The railing is chipped and worn, and dozens of ribbons flutter from it, tied there by hands unknown. Each one a prayer, perhaps, or a goodbye, or both. You stop halfway across, resting your hand on the wood. The man gestures to the water below. This stream only flows when someone's ready to let something go. You look down. The water moves slowly, tenderly, like it understands the weight of carrying what others release. You let your eyes drift across the ribbons. Names, dates, single words like forgive, wait, try again. One just says mom, and you realize grief wears many costumes. Some of them smile, some stay silent. Some walk with brooms and speak in riddles. You don't have to name it. The man says, Just let it go a little. You don't say anything. You don't need to. Your hand lingers on the wood for a few more seconds. Then lifts, lightly. The stream ripples. A breeze touches your face. Gentle and affirming. And just like that, something unlatches inside you. You're not sure what it was. A memory? A mistake? A person? Maybe all three. But now there's space. And that's something. You walk the rest of the bridge slowly. On the other side is a bench carved with words that have faded nearly to invisibility. But you can still make them out. Even the quiet ones leave echoes. The man doesn't sit, but you do. The bench is sun-warmed, soft with time. You watch him move slowly along the path, sweeping small things into his cart, fallen leaves, a candy wrapper, a page from a book too weathered to read. And suddenly, you feel it. That maybe all these little tasks, all this gentle caretaking of unnoticed things, is sacred. That healing doesn't always look like transformation. Sometimes it looks like tending to the forgotten corners of the world. Sweeping up pieces not because they're messy, but because they deserve to be held. A cat appears from under a bush, slender, silver, and alert. It walks up to the man and rubs its side against his leg. Then moves toward you. You reach down, and it lets you scratch behind its ears. The man smiles. Some visitors don't speak in words, he says, but they listen more deeply than most. The cat purrs softly, leans against your knee, then trots away without fanfare. Tail curled like a question mark. What if? You wonder aloud. We're all just passing through someone else's story, playing the role of the gentle stranger? The man chuckles, a quiet sound like rustling leaves. Maybe that's why we should be kind, he says, just in case we're someone's turning point. The wind lifts again, and for a moment, you're not sure if it's carrying leaves or whispers. You rise. He does too. You don't need to ask where you're going next. You trust the path now, even if you don't know where it ends. Especially because you don't. And somewhere in the distance, a wind chime sings a note so soft, it might just be for you. You continue walking beside the old man, each of you stepping gently over the uneven stones of a path that seems more suggestion than sidewalk. Overhead, the trees have begun to lean in a little more, as if curious about your journey. The sun, still shy, weaves light through their leaves in scattered threads, like golden yarn in a green tapestry. There's no rush, no destination is spoken aloud, only the sense that where you're going will feel familiar once you arrive. Ahead, you spot an open field, a wide, quiet place fenced only by wildflowers and the occasional twist of ivy. In the middle of it stands a large windmill, its blades turning slowly, rhythmically, too slow to generate anything but thought. This used to be a wishing place, the man says, almost to himself. People came here with their hopes, left them in the grass. Some came back to find them fulfilled. Some never did, but the wind never stopped turning. You pause at the edge of the field, your gaze tracing the windmill's long, lazy circles. There's something soothing about it, like a clock that doesn't measure time but instead rocks it to sleep. The man kneels beside a patch of clover and begins to sweep. Not because it's dirty, there's no mess to clean. He does it like one might hum a lullaby. To comfort, to participate, to be part of the stillness without interrupting it. You lower yourself beside him, sitting cross-legged on the soft earth. The breeze kisses your cheek and lifts the ends of your hair. The grass shifts in response, not hurried, not desperate, just alive. He reaches into the inside of his coat and pulls out a folded paper. It looks ancient, edges worn thin by time or fingers. He hands it to you. You open it carefully. The handwriting is uneven but steady. I hope one day I learn how to be soft again. You don't know why, but tears prickle at the corners of your eyes. Maybe it's the way the words feel like yours, even if they aren't. Or maybe it's that quiet ache of remembering you used to feel things more gently. Who wrote it? You ask, your voice barely louder than the breeze. He tilts his head, considering. Maybe someone who forgot they didn't have to earn rest, or prove their worth with struggle. You hold the paper in your lap and watch the windmill spin. Around and around, not chasing, not rushing, just turning, because it knows how to wait. What if? You whisper. We're not broken, just out of rhythm with ourselves? The man looks at you, his eyes kind. Then maybe healing isn't fixing. It's remembering the original song. You both sit there for a while, not speaking, letting silence stretch between you like a hammock. Above, a bird circles, once, twice, 3 times, then glides out of sight. Eventually, he rises, and you follow, not because you're done sitting, but because the moment has said all it came to say. He leads you through a narrow gate hidden behind a curtain of ivy. On the other side is a forgotten garden. The stone path is cracked, the pond shallow, but nothing feels abandoned. It feels paused. Dreams wait, he says simply, even when you forget them. You walk through slowly, your fingertips grazing the tall grasses and dry blooms. A bee drifts by, drunk on memory. You wonder what this place once looked like in full bloom, and then wonder if maybe this is its bloom. Quiet, unapologetic, letting things rest as they are. At the center of the garden is a broken statue, an angel with one wing. Not fallen, just grounded. Its face still holds a trace of serenity. The man stops beside it. This was never meant to fly, he says. It was meant to remind us that even with something missing, we can still be whole. You feel something inside you click, like a puzzle piece returning to its place, though you hadn't realized it had wandered. There's a moment when your eyes meet his. Not intense, just knowing. Do you ever wonder, he says softly, how many dreams are never lost, only waiting for someone to believe in them again? You do. And you realize something then. That belief isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a gentle sweep of the broom, or a folded note in a coat pocket. Sometimes it's choosing to sit in the field, even when you don't know why you're there. You continue walking together, your pace now matching his without effort. The path becomes quieter, more wooded, leaves crunch beneath your shoes. Birds speak in scattered syllables, as if still learning the language of morning. There's no sign to mark this place, but you know, somewhere deep in your chest, that you've entered a chapter you were meant to read. And just ahead, something shimmers in the shadows. The shimmer ahead is not a light in the way you'd expect, not electric or sunlit, but more like the suggestion of light. A hush of gold among the trees, like fog that's decided to remember how to glow. You step closer, leaves whispering under your feet. The old man walks just ahead of you, his broom now slung casually across his shoulders like an old friend he doesn't mind carrying. The path curves gently to the right, leading you into a quiet clearing surrounded by tall trees. In the center sits an old wooden cart, wheels half sunk into moss, its bed piled high with small glass bottles. Hundreds of them, some clear, some cloudy, all corked. Some catch the light and send it skipping gently across the soft bark of nearby trunks. "What is this place?" you ask, your voice low, as though the trees might be sleeping. He smiles, setting down the broom with the kind of care usually reserved for babies or teacups. "This is where I keep them," he says simply, "the dreams people throw away." You walk to the cart and peer inside. The bottles are all different. One contains a single blue feather. Another, a folded piece of paper. One has what looks like laughter trapped inside, soft, echoing, not trying to escape. "They look so small," you say. "They always do when you bottle them," he replies, crouching beside the cart. Dreams shrink when people lose faith in them. But they don't die. They just rest. You pick up one of the bottles. Its glass cool against your palm. Inside, there's a key. No label, no clue what it opens. But somehow, it feels familiar. Like something you were meant to carry long before now. "What do you do with them?" you ask. "Sometimes, I return them," he says, brushing off the rim of a bottle shaped like a teardrop. "When someone remembers, when they're ready to hold it again. And the others? They stay," he says, waiting, not with sadness, but with patience. You sit beside the cart, letting the moss cradle you like a quiet old couch. The wind rustles gently above, like a lullaby written in leaf and branch. Somewhere nearby, a bird begins to sing. Not loudly, just a single note, repeated, like a bell that doesn't want to wake anyone, only remind them they're not alone. You reach for another bottle. This one holds a small music box. The kind that plays when the lid opens. But the lid is closed. And the key is missing. You wonder who left it here. What song it used to play. What memory they couldn't bear to hear anymore. "Do you remember them all?" you ask. The man nods, looking out toward the trees. "Not with my mind, but with something softer." There's a pause. Not heavy, just long enough to let meaning land. "You don't have to carry every dream forever," he continues. "Some are meant for a season. Others, they wait for you to grow into them." You feel that, deep in the space between your ribs. The place where you keep all your unfinished hopes. You close your eyes and let the breeze touch your face. A smell drifts past, lavender. Maybe, or a memory of lavender. Soft and hard to pin down. Somewhere in this forest, a clock ticks. Not a loud tick, but a presence. A reminder that time isn't chasing, it's circling. Waiting for you to notice. "What if?" you say quietly. "The dreams we lose aren't lost. They're just waiting for a quieter version of us to return?" The man doesn't answer. He only smiles, as if you've spoken a language he thought everyone had forgotten. You both sit in silence, surrounded by glimmering glass and drowsy air. It feels like a place between worlds, between then and now. Between who you were and who you might still be. After a while, he stands and lifts the broom again. "Ready?" he asks, not urgently. You nod. As you leave the clearing, you turn back one last time. The bottles sit quietly, catching the last slant of light. None of them call out. None of them beg to be chosen. They simply exist, gently, waiting to be remembered. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be back someday. When your hands are steadier. When your heart has cleared some space. You follow the man back to the path. And the forest swallows the clearing behind you. Not cruelly. Just like a story closing its chapter. Waiting for the right reader to return. Ahead, the road dips gently downward. You walk side by side in companionable silence. And something inside you loosens, like an old knot finally giving way. The road ahead is damp with the kind of softness that only twilight can bring, mist curling at your ankles. A hush that settles over everything like a warm shawl across your shoulders. The old man walks slower now, his gaze downturned as though watching stories grow out of the earth itself. You don't speak for a while. The quiet is nourishing. Eventually, you ask, "Have you ever kept a dream for yourself?" He chuckles, a sound like the creak of an old rocking chair. "Once," he says, "but dreams don't like to be kept. They prefer to be followed." His answer isn't cryptic, just gentle. Like most truths that arrive too slowly for the impatient. You come upon a wooden bridge spanning a narrow stream. The boards beneath your feet give a soft, tired groan with every step. Beneath the bridge, the water flows like melted glass. Barely rippling, you pause halfway across, leaning against the rail. In the water's reflection, you see yourself, not as you are exactly, but as a softened version. Your edges blur, your eyes seem calmer, as if they've seen less, or perhaps more, and chosen peace. The man joins you, leaning beside you with that broom across his back like a question waiting for an answer. "I used to believe I needed to change the world," he says. "Sweep it clean. Collect every broken dream and make them whole again. And now?" you ask. He smiles. "Now, I just sweep." You tilt your head, not in confusion but curiosity. "There's peace in small things," he continues, "in doing something gently, even when no one notices. A quiet act can carry more love than 1,000 loud declarations." You think about that, about the mornings you rushed through, the promises you whispered only to yourself and forgot by nightfall. The stream flows beneath you like time itself, never stopping, never asking if you're ready. "I used to wait for permission to rest," you admit, and now? You take a breath, let it settle deep in your belly. "Now I'm learning to pause without guilt." He nods, as if that's a lesson he once took a long time to learn too. Further down the bridge, you spot a small carved symbol in the wood. A spiral, simple and smooth. You trace it with your fingertip. "What does it mean?" you ask. "Continuance," he replies. "That everything moves in circles. What we lose, we sometimes meet again. What we give away, we might grow into. And what we forget, might just be waiting by a quiet stream like this." It's not comforting in the usual way. It's quieter than comfort, more like acceptance, like watching the tide go out and not needing to chase it. "Do you believe dreams have their own will?" you ask after a while. "Maybe," he answers. "Or maybe they're the part of us that still remembers how to want." You stand together a while longer, watching leaves float by on the surface of the water. Each one seems to carry a story, though you couldn't say what. You wonder how many people cross this bridge each day. If they stop, or hurry across. If they notice the spiral. If they ever hear the stream singing lullabies beneath their busy feet. I think, you say, that I want to start listening more. To small things. To quiet places. The old man doesn't say anything. But he sets a hand gently on your shoulder. The weight of it is grounding, not heavy. Just real, like the moment itself saying, yes, that's the path. You cross the rest of the bridge slowly, as though each plank holds something sacred. On the other side, the path splits into 3. You glance at him, unsure. Which way now? He doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he looks up toward the sky, now bruised with the colors of approaching dusk, lavender, rose, a bit of gold holding on like it isn't quite ready to let the day go. Finally, he says, sometimes, it's not about the right way. It's about the one that feels soft under your feet. You close your eyes for a moment, tuning into your breath, the ground, the way the air moves across your skin. You step forward, not down the left path, or the right, or the middle, but a 4th way. One that wasn't visible until now. Narrow, covered in wildflowers, but it calls to you. The man doesn't follow. He only smiles, tipping his cap. I'll be here, he says, always sweeping, always watching the dreams drift in like birds returning home. You nod, and then you walk. The flowers brush against your calves, tickling like memories of laughter. Somewhere far behind you, the broom begins to sweep again. You walk quietly, slowly, not because you're afraid, but because it feels good to be gentle with time. And with yourself. The narrow path beneath your feet is lined with wildflowers, soft yellows, dusky blues, and pale purples that sway gently with each passing breeze. As if bowing in quiet welcome. You walk without urgency, without direction beyond the feeling in your chest that whispers, yes, this way. The scent of lavender drifts through the air, wrapping itself around your shoulders like a familiar lullaby. It's the kind of place where even your thoughts speak softer, more like gentle echoes than sharp declarations. And for the first time in a long while, you don't feel like you have to be anywhere other than here. Somewhere up ahead, a small bell chimes, soft, irregular, like it's being nudged by wind rather than rung with intention. You follow the sound until the trees part and reveal a tiny cottage made of stone and moss. Sloped with age but standing with pride. A copper wind chime sways on the porch, catching the light and scattering it into sun freckles across the ground. You hesitate at the threshold. There's no door. Just an open arch and the faint aroma of honeyed tea. Inside, a woman tends to a kettle. Her hair is silver and plaited down her back like a river in winter. She doesn't look surprised to see you. She just smiles and motions for you to sit by the hearth. You do. The chair is warm, as if someone left moments before you arrived. She pours tea into a cup carved with vines, and hands it to you without a word. When you finally speak, your voice sounds different, slower, softer. Do you know the street sweeper? She nods, not looking up. He passes through here sometimes. Always sweeping, always dreaming. You sip the tea. It tastes of chamomile, orange blossom, and something else. Something like memory. I've been following him, you say. Or maybe, I've been following what he reminded me of. She chuckles. A sound like dry leaves brushing against each other. He doesn't lead, she says. He invites. And maybe that's the most powerful kind of guide. One who never demands to be followed, but simply continues along the path so others know it's there. You glance around the cottage. It's filled with old books, half-woven baskets, sketches pinned to the walls with dried herbs. Nothing is finished, but nothing feels incomplete. There's beauty in what's left undone. The woman says, almost like she heard your thoughts. A story paused still carries breath. You think of your own half-done things, the dreams you shelved, the letters you never sent, the ideas scribbled in notebooks buried under other notebooks. I used to think I had to finish everything I started. You confess, or else it meant I failed. She looks at you with eyes like the moon, deep and ancient. Maybe starting was enough. Maybe walking away was the final chapter. Some endings don't close. They drift. Her words don't strike like lightning. They settle, like snowfall. Quiet, certain. There's a silence after that. The kind that speaks in textures instead of sound. The crackle of the fire. The ticking of a handmade clock. Your own breath, slow and even now. The woman reaches beneath the hearth and pulls out a bundle wrapped in cloth. She places it gently in your lap. It's for you, she says. You open it to find a feather, a key with no lock, and a slip of paper that simply reads, "Leave space for what wants to arrive." You close your eyes and hold the items like they're sacred, because in some way, they are. I don't know where I'm going. You whisper. She places a hand over yours. You're already there. It doesn't make sense in the way logic demands. But in your bones, it lands like truth. You thank her softly, rising to leave. Outside, the sky has deepened into twilight, bruised plum and sleepy gold. The air feels different, like it's holding its breath in anticipation. As you step away from the cottage, the wildflowers seem taller, or perhaps you've grown smaller in the best possible way, humbled. Lighter, open, you walk again. This time, not to find anything, but to be with everything. And as you do, the wind carries a faint hum, the street sweeper's tune. Soft and rhythmic like a lullaby for the world. You smile. You'll meet him again. You're sure. But for now, this step is enough. The path leads you into a grove where sunlight filters through the leaves like spilled gold. The air is thick with the scent of earth and something sweeter. Perhaps the lingering breath of jasmine or the distant promise of rain. You pause, letting the softness of the moment settle into your skin. Like a warm cloak. Ahead, you see the street sweeper again. He's sitting on a fallen log, resting his broom beside him. Eyes closed as if listening to a song only he can hear. His face holds the peaceful kind of tiredness that comes from a day well lived. Not from burden. You sit quietly nearby, not wanting to disturb the fragile calm. After a while, he opens his eyes and turns to you with a slow smile. Have you found what you were looking for? You consider the question, feeling the gentle pulse of the forest around you. I think I'm beginning to understand that what I was looking for was already inside me. I just needed to remember. He nods, as if he expected this all along. Sometimes, we collect dreams not to keep, but to remind ourselves what's possible. You watch a butterfly flit through the air, its wings brushing the light like a whispered secret. It lands on a leaf, still and radiant, before fluttering away again. You wonder if dreams are like that, brief, beautiful, sometimes just out of reach, but always worth the chase. The man stands and picks up his broom. There's one more place to show you. You follow him deeper into the grove, where a small clearing opens up to the sky. In the center, a circle of stones surrounds a tiny pool of water, perfectly still and mirror-like. He gestures for you to look into it. As you peer down, your reflection shimmers and shifts, revealing not just your face but glimpses of your dreams, past and future intertwined like threads in a tapestry. Some images are clear, others fade like mist. What do you see? He asks softly. You smile, surprised to find that instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel held, like a story cradled in gentle hands. I see hope, you say, and maybe forgiveness. He steps beside you. Forgiveness is a quiet river, not a flood. It moves slowly, reshaping the landscape one gentle curve at a time. You take a deep breath, letting the stillness of the water calm the restless parts of you. Would you teach me to sweep dreams? You ask. He laughs, the sound like soft wind through autumn leaves. We all sweep in our own way. Some with brooms, others with kindness, patience, or courage. You realize then that the street sweeper's journey is also your own, an ongoing dance between holding on and letting go, between effort and ease. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting the grove in a warm glow, you feel a quiet gratitude swell within you, not for the destination, but for the journey itself. The man raises his broom in a gentle salute. Remember, dreams aren't things to catch. They're places to visit. You nod, feeling the truth in his words as the first stars begin to twinkle overhead. And in that moment, beneath the vastness of the sky, you finally feel a kind of homecoming, not in a place, but in yourself. The stars above begin to scatter like fragile petals across the dark velvet of the sky, each one a soft whisper of light that seems to pulse with the rhythm of your own breathing. You sit beneath the wide expanse, the cool grass cushioning you like a gentle invitation to rest. The street sweeper kneels beside you, his hands tracing invisible patterns in the earth, as if stirring memories from the soil itself. You know, he says quietly, the most important sweeps happen within, not the streets, but the spaces between your thoughts. You turn your head slowly, catching the glimmer of moonlight on his weathered face. It's a face that has seen many dawns and dusks, yet holds a serenity as deep as the quiet lake you saw earlier. Inside us, he continues, there are corners piled high with doubt and shadows left unattended. We avoid them, thinking they'll disappear on their own. But they linger, gathering dust until we face them with gentle care. You feel a softness blooming inside your chest, like the slow opening of a flower at dawn. Maybe you've been sweeping your outside world all this time but forgetting the rooms within that need cleaning too. Some say facing those shadows is painful, even scary, but maybe, just maybe, it's more like a quiet conversation with a friend who's been waiting patiently to be heard. The breeze picks up, rustling the leaves overhead in a soothing murmur. You imagine your worries as tiny leaves caught in the wind, swirling freely and eventually settling where they belong, neither lost nor trapped. You close your eyes, imagining yourself sweeping not the streets, but your own mind, brushing away dust with strokes as soft as feathers. What if forgiveness, peace, and hope weren't destinations, but gentle acts you practice daily? Like the sweeper's rhythm? Opening your eyes, you notice how the stars seem to twinkle just a little brighter, as if encouraging you to keep going, one small sweep at a time. The street sweeper stands, extending a hand. Shall we continue? You take it, feeling the warmth and steady strength there, a quiet promise that you're never truly alone on this path. Together, you walk onward beneath the canopy of night, the world hushed and tender, as if holding its breath for your next step. You follow the street sweeper through a winding trail, where the scent of damp earth mingles with hints of pine and wild mint. Each step feels lighter than the last, as if the weight of days past is slowly dissolving into the soft embrace of the night. The quiet crunch of leaves underfoot becomes a gentle rhythm, a lullaby for your wandering mind. Ahead, a small clearing reveals itself, bathed in the pale glow of fireflies that dance like drifting lanterns in the dark. You pause, mesmerized by their delicate glow, flickering like tiny beacons guiding you forward. The street sweeper stops beside a large, ancient tree, its gnarled roots twisting like the stories held deep within your heart. He leans against the trunk, eyes closed, inhaling the night air as if drawing strength from the earth itself. Sometimes, he says slowly, we are like this tree, weathered by storms, marked by time, yet still rooted firmly in the soil of who we are. You reach out, tracing the rough bark with your fingertips, feeling the quiet resilience beneath its surface. It reminds you that strength isn't always loud or showy, it can be steady, slow, and deeply patient. The tree's leaves whisper in the breeze, telling stories of seasons past, of growth, of loss, of renewal. And you realize that your own story is woven into this ancient rhythm, part of a cycle far greater than you can see. Do you ever wonder, the street sweeper continues, what it means to let go, not just of things, but of the parts of yourself you thought you needed to hold tight? You think about the dreams you've clung to, the fears you've hidden behind, and the quiet hopes tucked away like forgotten seeds. Letting go, he says softly, isn't about losing yourself. It's about making room for new dreams, for new beginnings, for the gentle unfolding of what's yet to come. You breathe deeply, feeling the night air fill your lungs and wash over your worries like a cool stream. What if your story, like this tree, could bend with the wind without breaking? What if release could be the kindest form of holding on? The fireflies swirl higher, a shimmering cloud of light rising toward the stars. You watch until the last flicker fades, feeling a quiet peace settle over you. With a final glance at the ancient tree, the street sweeper turns and beckons you onward. The path ahead is soft and inviting, as if the earth itself whispers encouragement. You rise, your heart lighter, your steps more sure, and as you walk, you carry with you the gentle lesson of the tree, strength in surrender, hope in release, and grace in every quiet breath. The trail widens, opening onto a quiet village where lanterns hang like glowing stars caught in midair. You wander through the sleepy streets, their silence wrapping around you like a familiar shawl. The air here is tinged with the soft fragrance of blooming night flowers and distant wood smoke, a scent that somehow feels like home. At the village square, The street sweeper pauses beside a small bench, weathered and worn by countless stories told in hushed tones. He gestures for you to sit, and as you do, you notice a worn journal resting on the bench, a collection of pages filled with delicate sketches, gentle poems, and dreams scribbled in ink faded by time. He looks at you with a knowing smile. "This," he says softly, "is where the dreams find their quiet rest. Not forgotten, just waiting." You open the journal carefully, running your fingers over the fragile paper. Each entry feels like a whisper, a moment captured in the soft glow of memory. You read of hopes once held tight, of fears gently released, of kindness given and received. Some say memories are burdens to carry, but maybe they are gentle treasures, little lanterns guiding us through the dark corners of ourselves. You trace a poem about a child who painted the sky with colors no one else could see. And you wonder if dreams are like colors, sometimes hidden, sometimes vivid, but always waiting to be shared. The street sweeper leans back, his eyes reflecting the flickering lantern light. We all carry stories inside us. Sometimes they're loud, sometimes quiet, but they shape the rhythm of our lives. Like footsteps on a winding path. You close the journal, feeling the softness of its pages linger in your hands. What if the stories you keep inside are part of what makes you whole? Not something to hide or fix. The village sleeps around you, gentle and safe, and you realize that every story, every dream, has its place, even the unfinished ones. The street sweeper rises, brushing off his hands. "There's a final sweep to make," he says with a gentle laugh. "A clearing of the heart." You stand beside him, ready for whatever comes next, feeling the warmth of the village night and the quiet promise of dawn. Together, you step toward the soft glow on the horizon, a new chapter waiting to begin. The first pale light of dawn begins to stretch across the sky, brushing the world with soft hues of rose and lavender. You find yourself on a quiet hill overlooking the village, the street sweeper standing beside you as the gentle morning breeze carries the scent of dew and new beginnings. He turns to you, eyes reflecting the tender glow of sunrise. "This moment," he says softly, "is like the space between your breaths, the pause where everything shifts." You breathe deeply, feeling the stillness settle like a gentle wave within you. The night's shadows have faded, leaving behind a quiet clarity, a sense that the journey, with all its winding turns, has brought you home, not to a place, but to yourself. Sometimes, he continues, we forget that the end of a story is just the start of another. Like the way night melts into day, there's always a thread connecting what was with what will be. You watch as the light spills over the hills, painting the earth with warmth and possibility. The street sweeper raises his broom one last time, a soft smile on his face. "Thank you for walking this path with me. May your dreams always find gentle hands to catch them." In this quiet dawn, you feel a deep sense of peace, like the soft closing of a book after a favorite story. A story that stays with you long after the last page. You realize that life is less about holding on tightly and more about learning to sweep with grace, the courage to let go, the wisdom to embrace what comes, and the kindness to carry your dreams gently, wherever you go. As the sun rises fully, the village below begins to stir, the promise of a new day unfolding with quiet hope. You turn to the street sweeper, grateful for the journey and the soft lessons carried in his steady hands. And with a heart lighter than before, you step forward, ready to sweep your own path with gentle care and open arms. The morning light grows warmer now, filtering through the leaves like threads of gold weaving a tapestry of calm around you. You feel the gentle pulse of life beneath your feet, the soft hum of the earth breathing in rhythm with your own heart. The street sweeper walks beside you, his presence steady and comforting like the slow, steady tick of a clock in a quiet room. Every day, he says, as a new chance to sweep away yesterday's dust and find the quiet beauty in the simple moments. You listen, letting his words settle into the corners of your mind where restless thoughts used to crowd. What if the small acts of kindness you offer, like a smile, a pause, a moment of forgiveness, are the gentle sweeps that clear the way for peace? You walk through a garden where petals fall like soft rain, each one a delicate reminder that letting go can be an act of grace, not loss. The breeze carries a faint melody, a lullaby for the soul that invites you to slow down, to breathe deeper, to be present. Some say life's path is tangled and hard to navigate, but maybe it's more like this garden, a place where every leaf and flower finds its place in the sun, even if it takes time. The street sweeper pauses, looking out at the horizon. There's no rush, he whispers, just the steady rhythm of your own footsteps, and the quiet joy of the journey. You feel a warmth bloom inside, like the first light of morning touching your skin. This moment, simple and profound, feels like a gentle hug from the universe, soft, unspoken, and deeply kind. As you walk on, you carry with you the street sweeper's quiet wisdom, that healing is a slow, tender art, and dreams, like dust, are only waiting for gentle hands to gather them. You smile softly, the weight of the world lifting a little more with each step, ready to greet whatever comes with a heart open and at peace. Now, as the day unfolds beyond the horizon, you let your breath slow, each inhale a soft caress, each exhale a gentle release. The world quiets around you, and you find yourself cradled in a cocoon of calm, a place where worries melt away like morning mist. Imagine yourself wrapped in a blanket of warmth and light, held safe by the tender arms of the earth. The gentle breeze hums a lullaby, and stars begin to fade softly into the dawn, leaving behind a sky brushed with the promise of peace. You feel your heartbeat settle into a soothing rhythm, steady and sure, like the quiet footsteps of the street sweeper who taught you how to hold your dreams with kindness. There is nothing to fix, nowhere you need to be, only this moment, full of quiet grace. Thank you for sharing this journey tonight. May your dreams be soft and sweet, and may you wake refreshed, carrying the gentle lessons of this story into every new day. Good night, and sweet dreams.